This is Elle Casey doing another amateur hour video. It's not going to be an hour long though, I promise. Because I had a couple questions from a person who looked at my earlier videos asking me about custom chapter headings, subtitles, and also how to compile for the Kindle. And I guess my earlier videos kind of just breezed over that stuff or didn't include it at all, so I'm just going to do a quick one here and show you exactly how I do it. Now, my videos are free and I hope they help whoever watches them. If you ever feel indebted to me, feel free to go ahead and buy this book that's showing on my screen. It's called Mismatched, and I wrote it with author Amanda McCune, and it goes live on St. Patrick's Day 2015, but it's on sale before that for 25% off the final price. So anyway, here we go. This is my how I type in the screen. I don't use the other like full screen formats or anything like that. I'm more comfortable typing like this, but you can set up your desktop however you want. But over here on the left is the important stuff. This is the binder area. You can see that word binder there. And right here, I think it usually says manuscript, but I change it to the name of my book because often I have several books open and it just makes it easier for me to see which one it is. Then I have what I call manuscript as my top folder. And inside that main folder, I have all of my different chapters. So I put chapters on these little scenes. This little thing that looks like a piece of paper with text on it is called a scene. But in my world, it's actually the different chapters. So you can set it up in your binder so that each one of these blue, you can put several blue folders, and each blue folder has a different chapter inside it. And then inside those blue folders are these little scenes, and you can have a different scene for each different scene that you have in there. God, I really feel like I must be drunk or something. I'm making no sense, I'm sure. But I don't use scene breaks in my books, so I don't have a need to use blue folders for every chapter. And even if I did have a need to have scene breaks, I wouldn't need to put a separate text little folder there. I could just put an extra space in and then tell Scrivener to create that as a scene break. But that's another video. I'll have to do that another time. So anyway, this is how I set up my book so that I have one blue folder and then inside scene folders which actually hold the different chapters. So in this particular manuscript, there are two female main characters, one named Erin and one named Ridley. And each chapter is written from the point of view of that particular character, and it goes alternating back and forth. So it was important when I formatted this book that I made it easy for the reader to see who was telling the story that chapter. So I'm going to go over here to this little icon here, and it says the help tool pops up and says compile for export or print, and I'm going to click on that. And it brings up my compile window. So we start with contents. I'm always with custom because I tweak things inside here, so this should be set on custom. And I make sure that I have all the things that I want to be in the final book checked on the left here. And as you can see, I do not have this blue folder checked. I just have the individual chapters inside it checked. As far as things being compiled as is, that means it's going to compile exactly as you see it on this white screen here, rather than using the global formatting I'm going to set up. I use as is only for my front matter, which is title page, copyright, other books, pages, and dedication. And I use it for my back matter down here, the about the author pages and so on. Everything else I don't use as is because I want to do a global formatting. Separators, if I were the kind of person who used scene breaks inside my books, this is a place where you could tell Scrivener how to format that. But since it doesn't apply to me here, I'm going to go ahead and move on. Now, just a quick note, if you are compiling for iBooks, which is iTunes, which is Apple, where it says cover image here, you're going to select no cover image because iBooks will kick your file back and tell you there's something wrong with it if you put a cover inside it. Why do they do that? I do not know. It's very annoying because none of the other retailers do it. But anyway, I'm going to file for or compile for Kindle, so I'm going to go ahead and put my cover image in there. Isn't that a great cover? Now we're going to go down to formatting. This is where all the magic happens. So let's go to level 1. Because I've clicked level 1 in my hierarchy of folders here, it gets yellow. And then you can see exactly what that's talking about, what's going to be affected by what we do here. I'm not going to use this stuff. I remember earlier in this section, I said I didn't want that folder to be included, and I also didn't want this folder to be included, so it's going to have absolutely no effect on my final product, so I can skip ahead. Now, if we go to this second level, you can see nothing is highlighted in my binder. That means I have not used this type of file or folder in my document. And to be honest with you, I don't even know how to use that because it's never appeared. I wouldn't know how to use it or find it. So that middle level never applies in my work. So here's the big one. When I click on it, you can see this is whatever we do to this section here is going to affect all my chapters. So I'm going to check this box right here, title. Checking this box tells Scrivener that whatever word I have written in here is going to show up underneath chapter 1, title, or chapter 2, title. I also want to include the text of everything that's inside one of these chapters, obviously, because if I take the text button off, none of the stuff I've written is going to show up in the Mobi. It's just going to have chapter headings and nothing else. So we're going to click that box. Now we want to tell the Scrivener how we want that text to appear. Now keep in mind the Kindle has some kind of like default stuff, default fonts, default sizes of fonts, and so on. So you can't affect too much of how people are going to see things on their Kindle unless you actually insert things as a JPEG, which is a photograph type file. And I'll show you what I mean about that. Just let me show you really quick. Where would it be? I got to cancel this. We'll come back. Here we go. I want people, when they get their Kindle file, to see this beautiful little title page I created inside. But if I tried to do that by just changing fonts and things like that, it wouldn't work in the Kindle. It would just go back to the default font and make it just, Times New Roman black. So what I did was I used a graphic design program. In my case, I used GIMP, which is free. And I made this and turned it into a JPEG, so like a photograph. And then I inserted the photograph on a blank page. And so that's how you can get it to show up exactly how you want. But you shouldn't do too much of that in your Kindles because photographs have a lot more megabytes to them, and there is a downloading fee if your final Mobi file is too large. So you don't want to put a whole bunch of pictures inside your Kindle eBooks. So anyway, let's go back to what I was doing before, which is the compile. We're down here on this third level. We've told it to include the chapter title and the chapter text. Then I'm going to click down in this window. Well, let me go here, section layout. I've put the word chapter so that at the top of every new chapter, it will say the word chapter. And then I've put in this symbol, which is really hard to read, I think, on your screen. But what it is a left caret, the $sign, a lowercase letter T, and a right caret. So then I put a single paragraph break there. I hit my return key one time. And I'm not sure if it made a difference. I have to double check, but here I put 2 paragraph breaks. I'm pretty sure it didn't make any difference, but in any case, it's there. It's not going to hurt you to put it there. Under title appearance, I said I wanted the title to be uppercase. And I always do this on the first page. I say that the first 5 words, I want them to be uppercase. So I clicked this until it got to 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so I'm going to click OK on that. So that sets up this right here. See, it's in all caps. It says the word chapter, and it's going to automatically number them. So this chapter here will be 1, this will be 2, this will be 3, and so on. It does it automatically. You can't affect that. Another thing that I change here is my page padding. I include 8 lines. What that is for each new chapter page, my text is going to start about halfway down the page. Normally, I don't know if you've noticed when you're reading a paperback, but when you get a paperback and you open it up and you start going through the chapters, at each new chapter, it doesn't start up at the top of the page. It's about halfway down. So 8 lines of page padding is about that. I also changed my line spacing to 1.2, but I think, again, Kindle will format this the way they want to, or the way it wants to. But you should know this stuff because when you're formatting for paperback, you're going to set all this stuff up just like this, and it will be exactly how you set it in the paperback. So if you're going to use CreateSpace or Lightning Source to do print-on-demand paperbacks, you need to know how to work this stuff to format your book, because it's really easy to format books in Scrivener once you get the hang of it, and it'll save you a lot of money and time paying somebody else to do it. I should say time, meaning yes, you have to sit down and do the work, so it's taking up your time. But once you get the hang of this, you can format a paperback in, I don't know, 30 minutes. Whereas if you pay someone to do it, they can do it for you, but you're going to be on a list of people they're working for. So it could be 2, 3, 4, I don't know, up to 10 weeks before you get your book ready for CreateSpace. And, you know, time is money, so get that book in there as soon as you can is my attitude. So anyway, I'm down here. I want this text, whether if I'm formatting for paperback, to be what I want it to be. So I'm going to click on this letter A, which is Show the Fonts panel. And this little fonts panel pops up. And I usually use Palatino as my font. And my size of font, you know, on a Kindle, you can choose your own font size. So what I do here is not going to matter on people's Kindles, but for paperback, it definitely matters. And depending on how many pages I want my paperback to be, I'll use between 10, 11, or 12 as my font. That's a whole other conversation, paperback formatting. Okay, so we're pretty much done here. I'm just going to show you one thing here, this little teeny button here that says Options. Make sure this button is checked, excuse me, and you press Options. I always click Remove First Paragraph Indents at the start of each new document. So that means that, you know, the first line of any new chapter is not indented. I never noticed that as a reader, but as a writer, I finally noticed that stuff. So you can leave all the other things the way you see them on my screen here, and it shouldn't do anything too awful to your document. I don't do anything in title adjustments. I leave it the way it is here. In layout, I do check these 2 boxes so that my Kindle version of the book can have a table of contents. And here it normally says just contents, and I change it to table of contents. So here it is telling it to center it. Here it is to say make it. I don't do any transformations. I don't know why this is checked because I don't like my links underlined. No replacements. This is statistics just for your word count stuff, which doesn't matter when you're compiling, so I really don't know why it's here. Nothing with tables, nothing with, oh, well, normally I don't use footnotes and comments, so this is an irrelevant page for me. But when I wrote this book with Amanda, we both kind of put comments on it. And so just in case I've missed a comment that's floating around in there, I have double checked these things here to make sure that none of them show up in the final product. The metadata, you can't change this here. I guess you can change it here, but where you really want to set that up is under Project Metadata Settings. That's where you put this information in to start with. Okay, so what I've done here is, I was just recently compiling this for an ePub, so it says compile for ePub, but let's change it to a Mobi. And when you change to Mobi, you're going to see this little thing pop up. I'm going to go back to ePub, and you'll see it disappears. When you go to Mobi, this thing pops up. Now, the first time you compile for Mobi, you are going to want to pull your hair out, probably. Well, not with my video. Before my video, that would have happened. But with my video, that's not going to happen. So I'm going to click here. And it says, KindleGen, a tool from Amazon that enables Scrivener to export to a Kindle-compatible format, is installed. In your case, if you've never done Mobi compiling before, it won't be installed. So you will go to this link that they provide for you here. You click. And here are your publishing tools, and one of them is KindleGen. Where is it over here? Okay, KindleGen. Under Resources, you're going to click on KindleGen. And you have to agree to the terms of use. Click. And you got to choose which version. Are you using a Windows machine? I'm using a Mac, which is also the version of Scrivener you're watching on my screen. I'm going to click download now. I'm going to save the file. You see it right here in my downloads. Getting ready to finish up. 5 seconds, 4 seconds. Okay. I'm going to unlock that zip file. I'm actually going to access it through my downloads. Okay, so when you get it in your downloads file, it's going to be zipped. So you double click on it and it will turn into a blue folder here. And you're going to take this little down arrow, click it. Inside is a bunch of gobbledygook that I do not understand, but that doesn't matter because all you need to do is see this little file here, KindleGen, grab it, and drag it over to your application folder. Okay, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to let it drop. But that's what you need to do. Okay, once it's in your applications file, you can close this out. We can get rid of this window here. We're going to go back here. And I think I've already done it, so my screen's going to look a little different than yours, but it's going to ask you, you know, where the KindleGen is. And you're just going to click the button and lead it over to your applications file and click on it there. And then you won't have to ever do anything again with that, all right? It's just a one-time deal. It is really strange, and if you're not familiar with the Mac world or these weird little tools, it will really make you crazy. That's what happened to me. So anyway, I hope I've saved some headaches out there in the writing world with this little tip. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click compile now. I'm just going to call this mismatch test, and I'm going to put it on my desktop. Now, here's another tip for you, which I will give you while this thing is compiling the Mobi. You see this software down here? This is the Kindle software. Go on Amazon.com and download the Kindle software to your Mac, to your computer, and then put it on your toolbar, because the best way to check your Mobi and make sure it's good is to look at it in the Kindle software. So you could go sideload it onto your actual Kindle device if you have one, or you could email the file to your Kindle address and it'll pop up on your Kindle phone or your Kindle device. But for me, it's really easy to just go and grab the file and drag it down to the icon. Now, this Kindle software on the computer is kind of buggy. Sometimes it'll shut itself down and whatever, but it doesn't matter because I just use it for checking my files to make sure they're good. So I guess did I not put the cover on there? I must not have included the cover. Let me look. Yeah, I put no cover image. So I'm just going to go ahead and put the cover image, recompile, export it, and replace the old file. I'm going to shut Kindle down right now. I'll tell you why. Because if I were to leave that open and then have the identically named file pop up on my desktop and try to open it in this Kindle software here, it will cause it to crash. It does it every time. So it's just a little finicky. So I'm going to grab it and drop it into my Kindle application again. Wait for it to open up, and hopefully you will see that the cover is there. Yes. Okay. Now, take a look at my table of contents. You can see Chapter 1, Aaron. Chapter 2, Ridley. Chapter 3, Aaron. And let's go take a look at an actual chapter. Oh, by the way, remember I told you I made that little graphic so you could see the pretty title page inside? That's that right there. Oh, let's take a look at that. Those are some other books that I've written. These are some other books that Amanda's written. Feel free to check them out. Shameless self-plug right there. Okay, so here we go. Chapter 1, Aaron. So there's your subtitle, your subtext, and the automatic numbering of your chapters. Okay, I'm going to drag this over and take a look. Oop. Chapter 2, Ridley. Okay, and you can take this little slider on the bottom and slide it all the way to make sure your back matter looks good. Let's see. Yep, there's about me. There's about Amanda. There's our books again. Front matter, back matter. Oh, and I'm just going to point this out to you. Handy tip. Always put your newsletter sign up in your front matter and your back matter because you want readers who like your work to get the news about your work. See, I got it here too, and I make it a link so they can just click, boom, sign up for my newsletter. Woohoo! Okay, so that was compiling for Mobi. Compiling for ePub is a little bit easier, except that when you're doing iBooks, you have to remember to remove that cover image or it will kick back. So ePub, change it to ePub. I don't have to change anything in here because I've already done it for the Mobi. I click compile, and what I do at the end here is I put ePub. I'll tell you why. Because if you don't, the little icons that you see are going to be kind of confusing. I'll show you as soon as this thing is done messing around. Okay, so take a look. This is my desktop, which is never this clean. I actually moved all the files I need to file inside there, so I look a lot neater than I am. This is a Mobi file, which is really easy for me to see that it's a Mobi file because it has this cute little book as the icon. But an ePub has this white piece of paper, which looks very much like a Scrivener icon. A Scrivener icon is a white piece of paper with a little black thing here. So I often will be looking on my desktop for my ePub and I can't tell what is the ePub, so I name it ePub so I can see that. And if it's for iBooks, I specifically name it iBooks ePub because it'll be the one or the one ePub that doesn't have the cover in it. Because for Google Play and Kobo and Barnes & Noble, you can use an ePub with the cover in it. So it's only iBooks that doesn't get the cover. Okay, so I was blabbing at the beginning of this video about a couple things I wanted to show you, and I can't remember if I've gotten all of them, but if I missed anything in this video, I can make another video. So just, look on my channel for whatever else you're hunting for. And if you don't understand something I've done, feel free to leave a comment in the video, and if you'd like to see a different video, let me know, and I'll do it when I get a chance. Hope this was helpful. Happy writing. Bye.